What's up everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about an $8,000 wholesale deal I did in Tempe, Arizona. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I acquired this deal using an option and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And that can help you get so many more deals. Also, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you go down below, hit the red button and subscribe to the channel. It helps me reach more people and impact more lives, so I'd really appreciate it if you go subscribe. Other than that, let's get right into the video. Alright, so today we're talking about an $8,000 deal I did in Tempe, Arizona. This deal was awesome because I did it with an option. So first off, what marketing channel did I use to acquire this lead, this motivated seller? This lead came from cold calling. It came from cold calling a high equity list, 15 years plus residence out in Tempe, Arizona. If you want to get the same high equity data that I'm using, there's a link down below in the description. So once the lead came into our system from cold calling, we reached out to the seller and we figured out why they really wanted to sell and what their situation was. The seller told us that her husband was actually a realtor, but they couldn't list the house to sell it because they had a tenant in it and they wanted to sell it before that lease was up. I was able to solve their problem in multiple ways. The first way was we could end the lease with the tenant by doing a cash for keys agreement, and the tenant actually agreed to taking $3,000 to move out in 30 days. So that was perfect. We were able to acquire the property vacant after 30 days. And they didn't even want to do the cash for keys themselves and wait those 30 days and then list it. They wanted to sell it ASAP. They wanted to sell it right at the end of that 30 days. They wanted to close and they wanted to get paid. So that was perfect too. They still didn't want to go the route of listing it. So now that I knew I'd be able to get the property vacant at the close of escrow, because remember, every wholesale deal is worth more money vacant. So that was perfect that I was able to do that. Now what I needed to do was figure out how the numbers made sense to make this a deal where I could make money and the seller could get their price. The seller wanted around $330,000 and the property was worth about $450 to $470 remodeled, but it was a big property, around 2,500 square feet, and it needed a lot of work. So in order to get to that $450 number, you were gonna have to put around $80,000 in remodel into this property. So at $330, the numbers were really tight, but I thought, you know what, maybe I could sell this deal. So I said to the seller, let's work together. And that is exactly what an option is. It's when you openly tell the seller, hey, give me a 2-week time frame to be able to work this property and sell it for you and get you your full price. So that's what an option is. It's an option to be able to sell the property and get them the funds that they wanted, the amount of money they wanted. So that's exactly what I did. I got the property under contract for 2 weeks with the ability to market the property. So now that I had the property under contract, I went out to get pictures of the property. The property was not in good shape. I'll throw some pictures up. The kitchen is destroyed. They painted all the cabinets different colors. They closed in the garage, but they did the windows weird. There's no AC vents going to the garage, so they have a window AC unit in there. Not even one that sits in the window. It's like one of the portable ones that rolls around. So they didn't do the vents, so they didn't correctly close in the garage as another bedroom. So the property was a mess and it did need a lot of work. But I got all the pictures I needed in order to start marketing the property, and I email blasted the property out to all the cash buyers in Arizona. I put it in all the real estate Facebook groups, and I reached out to every realtor that I knew in my phone to see if they had a buyer that would like to buy the property. And shortly after doing that, I had a few offers come in, but they came in a lot lower. I had offers around $275. I had one at like $288, but then I had one at $315, but they wanted to walk the property. Keep in mind, I had the property under contract with an option at $330,000 and my highest offer was $315. So what did I do? I'm working with the seller to get it sold and get them paid. I called the seller up and I'm like, my highest offer is $315, but they still want to walk the property. And at $315, that leaves me no money to make because I'd be giving you that whole amount because you wanted $330. And so they were like, you know what, if they can come in at $315, we'll give you $5,000 and we're okay with taking $310. I was like, great. Hopefully this buyer will stick to his original price after walking the property and stay at $315. So I set up a showing and I walked the buyer through the property. After the showing, he needed 24 hours to run his final numbers, and unfortunately he came back with a final offer of $308 $8,000. So what did I do? I got the seller on the phone and I'm like, he came back, his highest offer is $308. What can we do? Would you be okay netting $300,000? He's gonna cover all the closing costs. There's no commissions. So if you net $300,000, I'm able to make $8,000. Does that work for you? And it took a lot of convincing for them to say yeah, because they were, 30 grand less than what they wanted. They were only getting $300,000 now. They're missing out on the 30 grand. The husband's licensed realtor, he could list it if they just waited and they could make a lot more money. But they were in a time crunch. They wanted to sell it. So finally they said, you know what? We'll take the $300,000. You can have the $8,000. And also, one of the main things that kept them moving forward with this deal, even for less money, was because the tenant already started moving. We already signed the cash for keys agreement with the tenant. So he already started moving and they couldn't really just back out of the deal and whatnot. And then, if they did back out of the deal, they'd be left without a tenant. So it was too late. So they just kept moving forward with the deal, which was great. So after they agreed to netting $300,000 and that I could make $8,000, I assigned the property to that cash buyer for $308,000 and I sent all the paperwork to title. From that point on, the transaction process went fairly smoothly and we just waited for the close of escrow. On the day of the close of escrow, the buyer wired the money early in the morning, the seller signed, buyer signed, and everything went smoothly. But here's where we ran into a problem. The tenant was out of town. He went on a vacation right at the close of escrow when we needed to get the key from him, and he forgot to leave the key under the doormat or wherever at the property. So now the key was stuck with him on vacation. Seller didn't have another copy of the key. Buyer didn't want to go in and drill out the locks, so he just wanted to wait for the key. So he was kind of annoyed that we had to wait a few days for the tenant to get back to provide the key. But the tenant got back in town, gave him the key, and everything went smooth. You can get so many more deals using the option strategy because it helps you be able to take so many more shots. Because if a deal is super tight and you don't want to contract it and then have to cancel on the seller, what you can do is say to the seller, hey, you know what, can you give me 2 weeks to see if my hedge fund or my lender can fund the property for X price, and then boom, we're ready to go. So that way you have 2 weeks to, figure out if you're going to be able to sell the deal or not. And so using options to your advantage, having that in your toolbox is super, super helpful. It helps you be more comfortable taking shots on tighter deals. And you really, if you do it often, you will acquire so many deals and so many of them will go through all the way to the close and get you paid. And there's many different ways to add the option into your contract. Here's one of the best ways. When you go to other terms in the contract, just add in there, buyer has a 14-day inspection period. Boom, that's an option right there. Or you could add in there, buyer has 14 days in order to get funding from his lender. Buyer has 14 days in order to get funding from his hedge fund. You can add all this terminology in order to input options into your contract, and it's super easy to do. Now, other than that, that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions about how to do options, what terms to use, comment down below and I'm sure to help you out. But other than that, if you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button. Also, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you go down below, hit the red button and subscribe to the channel. It helps me reach more people and impact more lives. So I'd really appreciate it if you go subscribe. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.